Hello everyone, and welcome to the lecture of chapter 6 in the course of wastewater engineering. And this chapter will be about sewage treatment system, and basically we'll be dividing this chapter into 4 parts. So part 1 will be talking about the classification of wastewater treatment systems, and part 2 will be about the preliminary treatment stage, in addition to some information about velocity measurement. And part 3 will be basically about primary treatment, and will be targeting removal of suspended solids. And finally, in part 4, we will have only a brief introduction about secondary treatment. Okay, so let's start with chapter 6, part 1. About the classification of wastewater treatment systems. First of all, we have 3 main categories of wastewater treatment systems. The first one is individual treatment systems, the second is communal, or sometimes we call it decentralized, and the last one is the centralized treatment system. So let's have a look on each of these systems. So first, individual treatment system, which means that one premise, one unit, one premise, one treatment plant, or one treatment unit. And for example, if we have a house or a school, okay, so sometimes they apply individual treatment systems for individual house or individual building, okay. This is due to many reasons. Normally, if the house or the building is in a remote area, okay, so this will be more suitable, okay. And if the house is not connected to the sewage treatment system, also the owner or the owner, yes, he will be responsible for the operation, the maintenance, and the construction, the establishment of this system. But however, this is an old practice, and in developed countries nowadays it is mostly not practiced, because all the developed cities nowadays depend on sewage treatment networks, and all the buildings, houses, schools, and all premises, they are connected to these sewage treatment or sewage collection network, okay. This is only a schematic draw for the individual system. You can see here the main pipe coming out from the house, okay, and the wastewater is collected into something we call a septic tank, and the septic tank is separated into 2 parts. So the first part will collect the big suspended solids, and the second part will have a more purified water, okay. But there is no such treatment here for, let me say, for the BOD or COD, okay. It's only the basic preliminary treatments, and then the water or the wastewater is pumped or is moved to a leach field or a drain field. Here the wastewater will be drained, okay, and be disposed into the ground, okay. And this system basically have many problems, or several problems, and mainly environmental problems, okay. It can damage the soil, can damage also the groundwater, and it can cause pollution, sometimes cause odors if it is not maintained or not well constructed, okay. You can see here this is a more close picture showing this individual system, okay. So our focus in this chapter will be on the other systems, not on this system, okay. Now moving to the next class, which is the communal treatment system, okay. This one is very common in Malaysia. What do I mean by communal treatment system? Communal is one plant is connecting a small area. So it is decentralized. It's not one centralized treatment plant for a big city. No, it's small plants for small areas or for small neighborhoods. Okay, so this is one common system in Malaysia. Okay, as I said just now, it treats sewage from a community, just like maybe a housing estate or maybe healthcare compound, or complex, or whatever. Okay, so this is only, or maybe a big university, it will have its own treatment system or its own treatment plant. That is called also a communal treatment system. Okay, and each system has its own pros and cons. Okay, so one of the advantages here is that it does not require high capital cost. Okay, the high capital cost is not so high. Okay, but on the other side, it requires regular maintenance. So the maintenance and the operation cost is very high, because they need to employ so many, huge number of laborers, higher number of labor and workers, technicians, engineers, and so on. Okay, because for example, if for one district like Johor district, if we need to construct such systems, maybe we need 10 or 15 plants, I don't know. Okay, or maybe more than this. Let me say for Johor Bahru, we need for 10 or 15 for one big city. Okay, so that will cause so high operation cost, and also we need to employ more technicians and more labor. Okay, now talking about the centralized treatment system. The centralized treatment system is somehow different, because it means one large area, like a city or district, is served by one plant only, by one treatment plant. Okay, and it is unlike the communal treatment system. This system is lower is higher in the capital cost, but it is lower in operational cost. Okay, it's lower in the operational cost, and of course it needs proper planning, and this is one of the problems, because if it is not planned very well, or if it faced any breakdown or sudden breakdown or regular stop, so that will cause a big problem for the city. Okay, because it's one plant for one city. But on the other hand, it's easy to operate, it's easier to maintain. Okay, fewer in number of employees and engineers, technicians, and so on. Okay, these are some considerations we need to take into account when we design or when we construct such treatment plants, whether they are communal system or centralized system. Okay, so briefly, we have to consider the effluent quality requirements. Okay, and we have to know how many residential areas or how many users are going to be connected to this network. Okay, there has to be proper access to the plants, road network, and gates, and so on. Okay, the wind direction is very important when we choose the location of treatment system, and of course, if we ask why, it will be because of the odor and smells. The odor transmission from the treatment plant to the other or to the neighbor residential areas. Okay, of course we have to consider the land availability. Okay, and we must include space for future expansion and upgrading of this system. Okay, the topography is one of the crucial factors, because the access or the flow of wastewater will be affected by the topography, soil characteristics, the costs. The power supply, of course, should be also considered, and finally the ultimate disposal of sludge. Okay, and these are some safety procedures that has to be taken or has to be considered in any treatment plant. Okay, the treatment plant has to include the handrails around tanks, the trenches, the pits. It also has to be properly fenced, okay, to prevent any unauthorized persons and animals to enter. Warning signs, first aid equipment, all of these things has to be provided, okay, for the engineers and for the labor inside the plant. No smoking in the treatment plants. No smoking is allowed. Protective clothing and equipment, of course, and finally some portable lighting equipment. This is for emergency cases. Okay, so this is the end of part 1. So we see you in part 2. Thank you.